Hi, welcome to this preview video for Volfyirion. Volfyirion is a fast 1 vs 1 competitive deck building game set in the mysterious universe of Mysthia. Mysthia, if you remember, it was a previous game from Tabula Games, a very successful Kickstarter. Now this deck builder for 2 players is very fast but offers something differently. In the game, each player represents a house, one of the 2 major houses in Mysthia, and the goal of each player is to defeat each other house by destroying all their cities. This is done by gaining points, which can be spent by deploying specific strategic assets and attacking each other's cities. Players gain points and take actions by playing cards from their personal decks, which can be obviously upgraded since it's a deck builder, with additional cards during the course of the game. An ancient creature may bring destruction on the battlefield and can tip the balance, and this is no other than the dragon Volfyirion. The art is the same fascinating art that Travis Anderson has done also for Mysthia. So without further ado, let's see how to set up the game and explain how the game plays. So today we're going to have a quick look on the 1 vs 1 player game mode, but be aware that there is also solo mode, co-op mode and 4 players mode, team versus team, which are part of the Kickstarter campaign, and we're expecting that they will be unlocked during this campaign. So as we mentioned, in Volfyirion each player represents one of the 2 major ancient houses in Mysthia, and the goal is to conquer the other player by destroying all of their enemy cities. This is done by gaining points, which can be spent by deploying then specific cards and attacking the opponent. Players gain resources and take actions by playing cards from their personal decks, and then they can upgrade also their personal decks so they can be more efficient and more devastating toward the opponent. So, to begin the game, the 2 players sit face to face, and the player's starting deck is called the house deck, is composed of 10 command cards, 8 prospector cards, which are those cards here. I'm going to discuss about the iconography and the symbology of the cards. So you start with 8 of those. And then you have +2, one is the diviner, which is this one, and the next one is the captain, which is this one. So this plus that, plus the 8 initial prospectors, make your deck, which you shuffle like any other deck building, and this is your starting deck, and the same is done by the opponent. So we're going to have 2 major decks in a game session of Volfyirion. So 2 decks, one of them is going to be the asset deck, and the second one is going to be the wonders deck. So let's first make the assets deck. The asset deck has those command cards which have this top iconography, all this is a prototype, all these cards here on the different colors, just to show you a bit of the captivating art, which is amazing, also from the universe of Mysthia, very immersive and thematic. So coming back to making the asset deck, we take all the command cards, we take also the building cards, which have this iconography on the top left, we add them, and we also take the troop cards, which have this iconography here. So troop cards, buildings and command cards, they all make the assets deck, which we shuffle very well together, and we create the first deck for Volfyirion. The second one is going to be consisting all the wonders, which have this iconography on the top left, and this is a separate deck. Again, very nice art, amazing art actually, not just very nice. So this is the second deck, which has the wonders, and it's going to be part of the game setup. Okay, so the next thing we do is we draw the top 5 cards from the asset deck, which is this one, and we place them one next to the other to make a row with an open market of 5 cards. Then we place Volfyrion's lair card, which is this one. Let me show you how it looks. This is Volfyrion's lair. It has space for 2 cards, 2 wonders actually, and it has also the information about how many knowledge points you need to move Volfyirion, and how many strength you need to defeat him, and also how many combat points you get once you get the lair for yourself. But we're going to get to the bottom of this. So for the starters, for starting the game, you put the lair there, and then you take the Wonders deck, which is this one. Open 2 cards, 2 Wonders. Remember, they have the top, the icon of the Wonder on the top left of the card, and you put one on each slot. You have 2 slots, and then you put Volfyirion figure on top of his lair. And this is the setup. So this is a common deck for the assets, and this is Volfyrion's lair with the 2 open Wonders and the Wonders deck on top. So just a small detail, when we place the Wonder deck on, near Volfyrion's lair, we need to draw cards until we reveal 2 that they cost less or equal to 3 battle points. For example, here we have 3 and this one is 6, so we need to replace this one, which goes at the bottom of the Wonder deck, till we get another one with 3 or less. This one has 2. Each player has 3 city cards which present their strategic points that they need to defend. So these cities are here, and each has a different value. One has a value defense of 10, you can see in the shield icon. So this is number 10. This has 9 defend points, and this one has 8. As you can see, its city card is identical. They have 2 slots, like Volfyrion's lair. The cities also do have 2 slots, 1 slot for 1 troop card and 1 slot for 1 building card. So you get in his front of his playing area, the player gets these 3 cards, so he spreads them so he can have space to position cards on these slots. This is his starting deck that we mentioned at the beginning, with the prospectors, etc., from where he draws cards, and he needs to have some space above his cities where he's going to have his playing area. Here he's going to play, like every deck builder, his cards from his hand, so he can make more things with what he draws, and here he's going to have a discard pile with all his cards to go there. Keep in mind that this is going to be identical for the opponent. I'm just showing one player here, and here's the asset row, but this is going to go on the left, so you're going to have one player here and the other player sitting just opposite the current player. Okay, this is a very fast card game, but it's all about cards, so let's see the anatomy of the cards and the symbology. So cards in the game provide 3 resources that can be used in multiple ways. First of all, we have command points, and the icon for command points is the plain circle you can see here. You can also see this iconography here, but this is the cost to buy the cards. So if this was the assets row, you will need to pay this amount or that amount or that amount to get the respective card. But when you play them from your hand in front of you in your playing area, then it provides you command points if it has a plain circle like this one. So this one would give you 1 command point. Command points are used by players to acquire cards from the assets row or to redeploy troops between cities. Players gain command points by playing command cards or through in-play card effects from buildings and various wonder cards. So the next icon we need to see is the one for the battle points. You can see one here, for example, and one here. This provides 2 battle points, this provides 1 battle point, in addition to the rest of the symbols. So battle points are used by players to acquire wonder cards from Volfyrion's lair or to attack a city. Players gain battle points by playing, obviously again in the same fashion like before, cards in front of their playing area. And the last resource is the one showed here. So this card is quite good because it has all 3 of them. And this is the knowledge points that are used by players in order to seal or unseal wonder cards in both playing areas or to replace a card from the asset row with a new one. Knowledge cards, knowledge points, may also be used in order to move Volfyirion from his lair onto an opponent's city, so the player will have to try to remove it by the end of his next turn, otherwise his city is going to be destroyed, and this is very stressful for the player. And in combination with all of this, you can have various strategic options and put strain on your opponent. So briefly, let's go through the main points of the card in the main sections. What we can have here is the card type, which is shown here. This is a command card, same here, and this is a troop card. Remember, we also have the building card, which has this symbol. here. Okay. The next is the command points, the command cost in order to obtain the card, which we mentioned before, which is this one, and that one, which is the points we need to pay from command points played from other cards in front of us in order to acquire those cards from the market. The next thing is the minor house color, which is the banner color here. This is red, purple, and gray, which are supposed to be neutral actually. So the other one is, if I'm not mistaken, let me find another one. Yeah, red, blue, and purple, and gray is the neutral one. Yeah. So this banner shows the house banner that this card belongs to, and it could have various meaning depending on the ability of the card. We'll see in a bit. Then what we have is the main ability, which is on the top row. This is the main ability, providing 2 battle points. This is the main ability, providing 1 command point, 1 battle point, and 3 knowledge points, etc. And then the last part is the secondary ability, which is located on the second row. This one, that one, and that one. We're going to explain those abilities later on. We're going to come back with details on this, but keep in mind that whenever you play a building card from your hand in front of your playing area, you need to assign it to a location of a building from one of your cities. So for example, I go to this city and I put it on the left. You see I have the icon watermark symbol for the building. So this one goes here, or it could go, for example, here, or even on my third city. If I want to replace a building with another building, then what I would do is I would remove this building if I wanted to add a new building here, or the other ones were occupied for some reason, and this is going to be removed from the game. And the same goes with troops. For example, this guard, I can, when I play it from my hand, I can either locate him, assign him to this city. So this city has both a building and a guard, as you can see, or another unoccupied, for example, location, always on the respective left location for the troops. And similarly, with like with buildings, if I want to replace a troop for some reason, I play it on top of my previous troop, and then I remove this one from the game. Usually I won't do that because I need to have troops to defend my cities, but in case you have all your spots and your slots filled in and your hand is you want to get some lesser good cards out of your deck because it's a deck building, then that will be a good chance and a good opportunity to do so and replace a previous troop card with a better one. Let's see the anatomy of the Wonder card. Wonder cards do not have house colors, they do not have banners on the left. Just showing you one. You see, they don't have these banners here. This is the first difference. Also, whenever you acquire a Wonder card, you may remove from the game another card from your discard pile. And in order for you to remind you this, you have this icon here. So whenever you acquire a Wonder card, you take it in front of you. You don't put it in your deck, you put it in next to your playing area, so you know you can see their ability and their ongoing effect that you get. But whenever you do so, this icon here reminds you that you can remove one card from the game, so you can actually make your deck better. Basically, you remove it from your not from your discard pile. You take it from your discard pile. You can take it from your playing area or even from your hand, and you remove it completely from the game. Similarly, like with the rest of the cards, we have the card type here, so we know it's a Wonder because it has the symbol here. We have obviously the title of the card. We have the battle points cost, which is here. You need to play that many battle points in order to win this Wonder. We'll see how this is done later on. And then we have the main ability, and again a secondary ability. And the same goes for this card. Main ability, top row, secondary ability, bottom row. Again, to show you how an occupied city card looks like, we have this city card here with the slot for the troop and the slot for the building. and on the top right, next to the title and the description which says it's a city, you can see the defense value of this city. So keep in mind that the majority of the cards you play, usually it's discarded onto the discard pile by the end of your turn. Some cards though are not discarded. Among those are the buildings, special troops, that they go, not special, just any troop actually, that goes on top of your city, the wonders, that they remain as an ongoing effect next to your playing area, and all these cards do not need to be discarded. All the rest of the cards that are played here on your playing area go on your discard pile. So all those cards that remain in play in front of you, they continue to provide you their main ability points during all of your turns, your subsequent turns, for the next of the main phases, as long as they do not get destroyed or sealed. If they get destroyed, they're going to get removed from your playing area, and if they get sealed, you need to make an action in order to unseal them, in order to have them effective again. So let's see how we play the game. Guess who goes first? The player who has most recently seen a dragon, either a real one or a fictional one. How you're going to prove that, I don't know, but that's the rule for how you pick a starting player. So, each player has the specific 3 phases to follow. These 3 phases, when they are completed, then the next player takes their turn and they have the same 3 phases, which they are, first of all, the draw phase, second of all, the main phase, and third, the end of a turn. Once a player has had all of those 3 phases, then it's the next player's turn to take his turn. So first of all is the draw phase. Very simple, we draw 5 cards from your house deck. This is my house deck on the left of my cities and in front of my playing area. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is going to be my starting hand. Obviously my cards are not that very strong, I only got the starting cards at the beginning, but this is a deck building game, so I need to make the best of my deck, enrich it with more specific assets, more strategic cards, and then be able to have a better hand in the subsequent turns. So draw 5 cards, and this is done at the beginning of my turn for the draw phase. Only during my first turn, a player may decide to shuffle their hand back and start again with a new draw 5 completely new cards. But this is done only for the first turn if you're not happy with what you draw. So during a game there will be often no cards left in the draw pile, but like any other deck building game, if your house deck is depleted and goes to your discard pile, you're going to take your discard pile, obviously together with all the newly acquired cards, reshuffle it, make a new draw deck, and take 5 new cards like normal. So this was number 1, draw phase. Number 2 is main phase. During the main phase, you may perform any of the following actions. I'm going to list you all the options, and then we're going to have a quick 1-2 words for each option and see how this is translated into gameplay. So the options that you're going to have in your main phase, and you can take as many of them as you want and you can afford, are the following. Play a card from your hand and gain all points depicted. Use a command points to acquire an asset card from the market. Use command points to redeploy a troop. Use battle points to acquire a wonder card. Use battle points to attack a city, opponent obviously. Use knowledge points to seal or unseal a wonder card. Use knowledge points to replace a card in the asset row. And use knowledge points to move Volfyirion, the dragon. Finally, you can activate a card's secondary ability. As an extra action, once per game, one of the players may be able to use battle points to defeat Volfyirion. So the first thing we mention is you can play a card from your hand and gain points. Playing a card means that you put it down from your hand on the playing area in front of you. This is the core mechanic of the game and has no cost. All cards that you decide not to play are kept in your hand, and at the end of your turn are going to be discarded on top of your discard pile. You immediately gain as many command points, battle points and knowledge points as depicted by the player's card main ability. That's the top row, I'm reminding you. Secondary abilities may be triggered at this point, and we can describe later on how this translates into gameplay. When performing an action, you may also get to assign a building and troop card to your city slots, and you can gain points from every card already in play from previous turns, in both playing and sitting areas respectively, also from wonders and building cards. So for example, I can play in front of my playing area this card and gain immediately 1 command point, 1 battle point and 3 knowledge points. And also I can keep playing cards, so I can have 3 plus 2, 5 knowledge points, or I can also add this. All these come from my hand obviously, so I can have 2 plus 1, 3 battle points, 5 knowledge points and 1 command point. It's up to me to decide how to use them and how to wisely spend them to get something better. Also keep in mind that at this point any troop cards or building cards, they come from my hand, so I need to have them acquired previously and they need to redraw them. So then when I play them in front of me, I immediately put them, assign them to a slot as we mentioned before. But when I acquire them from the market, from the asset market, I don't play them immediately, I put them on my discard pile. So the second thing I can do in addition is to acquire asset cards. To acquire an asset card from the asset row display, I must pay the amount of command points depicted on the top right position of the card. For example, this one. I need to play in front of me cards that give me at least 2 command points combined, so I would be able to buy this asset, a hidden cache, which provides especially this top ability and this secondary ability. Whatever I acquire from the asset row, I take it and I put it to my discard pile, so it is immediately going to my discard pile and not to my hand or my draw deck. Another of the options I have to my disposal is to acquire wonder cards. In order to acquire a wonder card, that is obviously on top of Volfyrion's lair, we always have to, as we explained during setup, what I need to do is I must pay the amount of battle points depicted on the card's cost icon. So in order to acquire this strange box, I need to pay to play in front of me cards that give me 3 battle points in order to be able to acquire it. Once I've done this, the newly acquired card is immediately moved to the discard pile and the acquired card's empty space is not refilled until the end of the turn phase. Keep in mind the same happens with when you acquire an asset card. You don't refill the slots, you can keep taking more and more cards, but you only refill the slots. Same in the asset row, the same like in the wonders, Volfyrion's lair slots, you only refill it at the end of your turn. So you can take the maximum of 2 wonder cards if you can afford them. So for example, so far we've seen that during my turn I can do a lot of things on the same time. I can acquire assets, I can acquire wonder cards, and I can get more cards for from both decks and put them in my discard pile. Remember, the goal in this game is to destroy the opponent by destroying his or her 3 cities. So the next thing you can do is you can attack a city. In order to attack an enemy city, you must spend battle points, again by playing cards in front of you. An attack is successful if the amount of battle points spent is equal to the city defense value plus the defense of any station troop if present. When you are successful against an enemy city protected by a troop card, immediately you remove that troop card from the game, as it sacrifices itself to guard the city. On the other hand, if no troop is stationed in the attacked city, then the city is defenseless and it's turned face down. 1 of the 3 is down, 2 more to go. So for example, for this, if this city was being attacked, its defense value is 9 plus any defense value from the station troops. So 9 plus 4, and this one doesn't offer, this building doesn't offer any defense, only the troop. So 9 plus 4, 13. So if I play cards that have attack points at least 13, which means I match the battle points of the city plus any station troops, then this troop is being destroyed. It's been removed from the slot and removed from the game because it sacrifices itself in order to defend the city. The next time a city is attacked, and this time its defense value is only 9, and I can get to attack it successfully again. If that happens, then I would flip the city because it's destroyed, and the opponent only needs to destroy this and that, and then he wins the game. Another option you have among the selection is to defeat Volfyirion, the dragon. You may pay 16 battle points in order to defeat Volfyirion. If you manage to accomplish such a difficult task, then what you do is immediately you remove from the game the Volfyirion token, this nice mini. Keep in mind that in the Kickstarter campaign you're going to have a gorgeous add-on for the dragon. Really looking forward to this. So if you manage to defeat Volfyirion, you remove the token as I mentioned before, and then what happens is you also claim all the wonder cards that they are there for yours to take. So if you defeat Volfyirion, you can see here it says 16. I don't know if it's shown in the camera. Let me show you. You see? So if you defeat Volfyirion, not an easy task obviously, but if that's done, this is a race, whoever does it first, then he claims the 2 wonders, so they go to his discard pile, and then what happens is this miniature or the token, whatever version you get of the game, is removed from the game, the dragon is dead, and then you take Volfyrion's lair as an additional city for yours. So you see it has again 2 slots where you can have added, besides your 3 cities you can have 1 more. You won Volfyrion's lair, and it has a defense value of 9. So this is quite, it's very difficult to defeat, but also the rewards are very high, and it's another strategy for the players to go for defeating Volfyirion and getting their Volfyrion's lair for their own. So it's 1 more extra city, and they can stand longer the attacks of the opponent. Another reason you want to defeat Volfyirion and get his lair for your own taking is that it has an ongoing ability of providing 4 battle points for every of your subsequent turns. So this is always a +4 with attacking combat points, which is a really welcome addition, and it will help you to really crush your opponent with your additional troops. Another thing you can do is you can seal or unseal a wonder card. You may seal or unseal a wonder card in both playing areas by paying the equivalent of the card's cost in knowledge points. As a reminder, there is always an icon on each wonder card here that shows how many knowledge points needs to be paid in order to seal or unseal this card, and each one has a different value. For example, this one has 3. Okay. So when a wonder is sealed, both its abilities are locked until it gets unsealed, so it's a way of delaying your opponent, and you may only unseal cards that are sealed. You rotate them back to vertical position, and you present this. When you seal them, you tap them, and this is a sealed position, and when you want to unseal them, you pay the knowledge points here again, and you put them on a vertical position, obviously not on the layer of Volfyirion in front of your playing area. So another thing you can do is to replace a card from the asset row. This is very simple. You pay 2 knowledge points from cards played in front of you, and then you replace a card in the asset row with the top card from the asset deck. The replaced card goes on the bottom of the asset deck, and the new card is immediately available to be acquired. Obviously, if you do this when you want to have more cards on display, to have more options for you to buy better cards. So the last option that you can take in your main phase, and this is not a singular option, you have all these options as long as you can play cards and pay the respective costs, is to move Volfyirion the dragon. You may pay 8 knowledge points to move the Volfyirion token, and the dragon can only perform 2 kinds of movements. If the Volfyirion token is on the Volfyirion lair's card, you may move the token over the enemy city. So from the lair, it goes to the enemy city. So the dragon visits your city, and not quite well. So what you do is you take the dragon and you put it on the enemy's city card, as mentioned here. If the opponent is unable to move Volfyirion away from their city at the end of their next turn, by doing exactly the same, paying again the respective cost to move Volfyirion, which is again 8 knowledge points, then his city is being destroyed by the dragon. So this is a way to put strain and stress on your opponent. So you need to play move Volfyirion respectively when you think that your opponent is low on knowledge cards, or if you have seen him playing a lot of knowledge cards, then most probably he won't have that many knowledge points, not knowledge cards, knowledge points on his cards for the subsequent turn. So you can send him the dragon and threaten to destroy his city. If Volfyirion token is on a known city, you may try to move it back away from your city, again onto its original position, the Volfyirion lair card, and you do that by paying the movement knowledge points. So this figure goes from the lair, the opponent plays 8 knowledge points and moves it in one city and threatening to destroy it. If that player has on his turn, before his next turn he finishes, he has 8 knowledge points, he moves it exactly back to the lair, not directly to an opponent's city. So it goes via lair, always, like that. This is a very interesting mechanism and puts a lot of strain to people, and you need to always make sure that you get cards with enough knowledge points, because if you see your opponent piling up on these precious cards with high numbers on knowledge cards, then he's most probably trying some sneaky attack with you with Volfyirion the Dragon. So all these options are able to be selected. You are able to select them for your main phase. The last thing that you can do is you activate, not the last thing in order, but the last option you have is to activate the secondary ability on every card you own and you have played. Also in cards that you have in front of you. So the secondary ability of a card offers you additional bonuses during the play of a card. Such effect can be activated upon 2 different sets of conditions. Each card's secondary ability can only be triggered once during a turn. So remember, we have the top main ability, which is usually providing points for acquiring command points, battle points or knowledge points. And then we have a secondary ability, which is the second row on each card. So the 2 options we have are the following. You can have the synergy chain. Some cards display a set of icons called the synergy chain, and in order to trigger such an effect you need to check if there are other cards which match the color requirements in both playing cities areas, buildings, troops, so you can take colors from everywhere in front of you actually. And if the requirements are met, then you gain the depicted bonuses. So if you have, for example, for this one, a blue and a purple card, then you gain in addition 2 command points and 4 knowledge points. So this is something very interesting and useful to keep in mind on, because the secondary abilities really provide a lot of boost if you play them correctly with matching colors in front of your playing area. And the second option is the remove option. Some cards like Wonders or other cards offer a remove option, and during the main phase you may decide to remove such cards from the game completely in order to gain the depicted bonus. So if you remove this card, you gain 3 knowledge, and this is quite thematic actually, because obviously this is a troop card, but it is a novice, so he has a defense value if you put him on his city to guard the city. But if you remove this card, you gain, since he is a novice, you gain 3 knowledge points. These cards are removed completely, and another reason to do this is because you want to regulate your deck, make it thinner and more effective. So it is an easy way to remove cards that you don't want in order to get also some bonuses in addition. There are also some other secondary abilities, and just to mention a few, you can say draw 2 cards, where you draw from your house deck as many cards as it is mentioned, 2 or more. Then it can say, for example, remove X number of cards, then you choose the depicted amount of cards between your playing area and your discard pile and your hand, and you remove them from the game. Another way to regulate more specifically and targeted focused cards from your deck. It can say destroy 1 troop, so you choose a troop stationed on an enemy city and you can destroy it, remove it from the game. Destroy a building, you do the same with an opponent building. And a very, very interesting card is move Volfyirion, so you may immediately perform a move Volfyirion action. with this secondary ability. So we have seen the draw phase, we have seen the main phase, 3 and the third and the last phase is the end of a turn. When you are done performing action, the end of a turn begins. And this is followed in the specific sequence. Except from wonders, you discard every card in the playing area onto the discard pile. Buildings and troops stationed in cities are not discarded. Discard all unplayable cards from your hand. So you don't keep cards, you always draw 5 new cards in the next turn. All spent points are lost, you don't pass points from turn to turn. If Volfyirion token is in one of your cities, if you didn't manage to present before the end of your turn 8 knowledge points to remove him back onto his lair, then you will turn face down that city because it gets destroyed by the dragon mighty fury and wrath, and any building card and troop card stationed on this city is also removed from the game because they are sacrificed as well. Then you move Volfyirion token back to its lair, so it's resetting, and then you refill empty spaces both in the asset row and on Volfyirion lair card with respectively more cards and more wonders as needed. At last you end your turn and then your opponent is ready to attack you. So hopefully we managed to give you a good impression and idea of how the game plays. This is a very fast and very interesting take on the deck building genre. For me, if you like, and I really like myself, games like Star Realms or Hero Realms, this is a no-brainer. This is a fantastic upgrade in my opinion to this little fast deck building sweet spot, if you wish. What I found exceptionally interesting and well thought is the mechanism of Volfyirion. I haven't seen this, this mechanism of putting such a stress to your opponent by playing, moving the dragon, and also there is quite a good balance because you don't go back and forth, getting the dragon directly from your city to your opponent's city. You have to go through the Volfyrion's lair. So the abilities of the cards and the synergies that you have to do with the colors is very interesting, but we have seen this before. What is really interesting is you station troops to defend your city, and you station buildings that you give you special abilities. So you try to make like a little efficient engine building in from symbols and defense value and attack value from your playing area. Your opponent obviously does the same, so it's a race who managed to crush the opponent. So another interesting thing that I'm really looking for, we didn't discuss this during this video, but it's how the different ways that this game is going to be played. I've heard only good things about variants for 1 versus 1, solo mode, team versus mode, co-op mode, all these nice things that hopefully they're going to be unlocked through the campaign, and so much more. Even if you are a fan of tabular games like myself, I really love the Mystia, so I'm really looking forward to get this from from the Kickstarter campaign. But what I've heard and what's been discussed on the Kickstarter page for Volfyirion is that the massive, beautiful miniature that is an add-on, obviously, to replace this token of Volfyirion is going to come with special rules and cards so that it can be played also in Mystia. So this is a real good reason to get the add-on. Otherwise it looks great, but on its own it wouldn't be so let's say on my radar, but now it's really on my radar because it both looks excellent, but also can be combined as a game element from Mystia, from this game, which is a fast, interesting game, but also on their next game from Tabula Games, which is Icarion, if I'm not mistaken. So very, very well thought. I really like when companies, make components that obviously cost a lot of money, but they give options to us to use them in different games, so they get loyalty points from me for sure. Overall, to come back to Volfyirion, it's just a deck of cards, so it gives you a lot of punch and a lot of gameplay out of just a simple deck of cards. So you can take it with you, it's very portable, drop it in your backpack and you have 20-30 minutes of really intense and back and forth gameplay with a friend of yours. Also, I've heard again that if you have 2 copies of the game, you're gonna have ways to play up to 4. So all these things really get me excited. I'm really looking forward to follow their campaign and all the things that are going to be unlocked. Very, very high impressions, very, very well thought game. Simple, fast, yet quite enough meat to keep it interesting. This was Volfyirion. Hope you enjoyed this video and this preview. And we're going to give the link to their Kickstarter campaign so you can have a quick look and check this interesting Kickstarter campaign. Thanks for watching.